All right, so I just earlier this week hit 200,000 subscribers, which it's crazy kind of even making this video because you would think like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. But the underlying feeling, or the feeling that comes up most for me right now, is one where I'm not fully happy at the moment. And so as I hit that milestone, felt like kind of a good time to just slow down, but also share a little bit of an update, and really kind of like touch on like, why am I not feeling happy and where to go from here, or what to do from now. And I think that there's layers to that, but one of the kind of like key or core elements to it is that, every month at the moment, the feeling that I have kind of internally is that like I'm like scraping by to get by, and that it's kind of like taking a look at the bank account. How many more months do I have until I potentially run out, and what do I need to do in order to extend that a little bit? And in some ways, I think that there's benefits to that. And again, when I started Mind and Soil, I dove in straight away without having built anything out or kind of working on it for a couple of years to build a little bit of a foundation. I was just all in right out of the gates. And so after 3.5 years of scratching by, I think that starts to weigh certainly on me. And again, I think I'm okay with that in a lot of ways, because all throughout it's like, okay, you can see how things are building and things should get easier at a certain point in time. And I guess I thought that, when you're at the size or scale that I'm at now, that things would start to get a little bit easier. And I haven't found that to be the case. I find that I'm still feeling the same weight, the same pressure here in, year 3+ that I did at the very beginning in those first few months, that first year of working on things and building things. And, when you begin to work through that a little bit, again, you look at how I went about starting and building things was with physical products and selling worm castings and organic fertilizers and seedling mixes to people. And that is, good in a lot of ways. There's challenges with that in a lot of ways. But one of the biggest challenges that I've ran into and experienced is that, I've built my channel, the YouTube channel here, quite large, but the vast majority of the viewers are outside of the country that I live in, and I can't ship agricultural products outside of my border. So I can't even access these individuals from like a business model perspective. So then I started thinking, okay, well, if I have more of like an online program, then borders are no longer as much of an issue. And that's where I created my online gardening mentorship, Grounded. And elements of that are what I look forward to the most every week. When we have our call on Thursdays and we just get to geek out as gardeners, it's like everything else melts away, and I return to like why I love gardening so much and why I love what I'm working on so much. When I see the individuals in that program so lit up, having successes, working through challenges, flops, failures, all of that, it's such a incredible moment for me, something I look forward to every single week. But then that just doesn't have like the same momentum or volume behind it that something like physical products has. It doesn't convert the same way. So again, it's like, you go down one path a little bit, and then it's like, ooh, there's some, bottlenecks, some challenges there. Now I'm kind of going down another path a little bit. There's some bottlenecks, some challenges there. And so now after, 3+ years, it feels like I've got this thing that's just like scotch taped together with like partially built solutions and endeavors all over the place, rather than being a really nice, strong, and cohesive foundation or business for that matter. And so when I kind of peel that back a little bit further, it's like, okay, what's driving the stress within there? And again, it comes back to like this notion of feeling that financial pressure of having to make ends meet, and the like question that I struggle with the most, and probably grapple with the most as well, is, am I doing X because I need to find a way to get cash in the door this month or next month? Or am I doing this, again, X initiative, whatever it might be, because I believe this is the best thing for the mission of Mind and Soil and to help all the different gardeners that I want to be helping? And more often than not, I'm finding that those decisions that I'm making are coming from a place of basically like trying to get, like cash flow in the door so that I can keep a roof over my head, pay the bills, all that type of stuff, opposed to building from like this pure perspective of like really and truly trying to help gardeners. And I get it, like that makes sense, right? Like you need to be covering your bills and paying for everything and all that. So that is an element to it. But why it weighs so heavily on me is because I can feel how significantly it's impacting my decision making in the ways that I'm going about building things. And that has ultimately culminated and resulted in this entity that, again, just feels kind of like scotch taped and put together in a really, really kind of like janky manner. And when I think about that, like everything lightens a little bit. It's like, it's very much like, okay, like, when you're like hitting on the thing that's causing the stress, the pain, that is certainly it for me. So then I start thinking about a little bit, it's like, okay, well, how do you adjust this, right? Like, what's the solution to that? Sorry, there's a motorcycle going by right now. Also, not sure if you hear, but my chair's a little bit squeaky here. And, on that front, I think the biggest thing is finding a way to alleviate some of that financial pressure so that I can return to what it is about Mind and Soil that lights me up the most, and building from that more pure and that more passion perspective rather than from that place of, kind of really focusing on profitability. And so what does that mean for where I'm at and the future of things? Like, I don't feel complete on what I've started with Mind and Soil. And I think even more specifically, like what I've started to build from a content perspective and from a channel and audience perspective. And so I'm not at this place where I want to, throw in the towel and wrap it up and, hey, that was a really special chapter. But I'm also not at a place where I think I want to continue as I have been, because it's like that whole definition of like insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different outcome. And I think that that's really challenging for me because it's one of those things where like I have it built in my mind that is the definition of success is having this entity that's able to pay the bills and be a successful business. And so not accomplishing that or not accomplishing that in this moment then feels like a failure. But it's like, I know that I can do those things. I could make decisions that are from a place of maximizing profitability or building this from like a financial perspective. But that's, I think, at odds with my heart and the way that I want to go about doing things. And that might mean that I'm not good at business. But I think that like what it is that I want to build is maybe a little bit different than that. Like I certainly think that there needs to be a financial element to it for me to, be able to justify to myself investing as much time as I do into things. But I think that I, want to give myself permission to explore doing that in a bit of a different way, where I have a means to an end figured out outside of Mind and Soil, and return to building Mind and Soil from like, I shouldn't even say return to, but begin building Mind and Soil from more of a pure perspective, where I'm just kind of like not worried or concerned about the monetary side of it, but allow that to become whatever it's meant to become over the years to come. And when I think about like my favorite, hands down favorite creator in the world, Mark Rober, he constantly talks about how a huge element for him early on and for a long time was making like that financial pressure as small as possible so that he could be building the kind of like purest thing that he, that he envisioned and wanted to create. And that's always resonated with me so much, but I've never given myself permission to explore that, because that in my mind would be ultimately failing at what I set out to do. Versus where I think I am at more genuinely is desiring to redefine what the definition of success is for mind and soil, and really like what my life kind of looks like from that perspective. And so ultimately, like, I think that is what has been driving a lot of this unhappiness, is that like, it's like you're trying to force something that I don't want to force. I want to happen kind of more purely and as it's meant to. And so I think that for myself, over the months ahead, I want to begin kind of like exploring like what it would mean and what it would look like to have, again, a means to an end, income coming in outside of mind and soil, but also time and energy and bandwidth set aside so that I can continue to work on and to build mind and soil, and to see what that will become. Because I know the reason why I'm curious is because I know that it would be different than the way that I'm going about things right now. And I think that it'll ultimately end up being better. So yeah, that's a quick little update in terms of, more than anything, the weight that I've been holding and carrying. And yeah, I think that it's important to share that with everybody, because I want to continue down this path and I want to continue building things, but I do think that I need to make some tweaks and some adjustments on my end. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown of the update there. Would love to hear if you have any thoughts down in the comments here. I do expect for there to be videos continuing to come out here. So again, certainly isn't goodbye, but think of it more just as an update here. But also not like this is what I'm doing moving forward, because I don't know what the answer to that is at the moment. But as I mentioned, I do think it's a good time to take a bit of a step back from multiple steps forward. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the journey. Let me know how you're all doing down in the comments there. I can't wait to catch you in the next video. See you then.